what you eat is what you are. This age-old saying holds more truth than ever before. In an era where fitness has become synonymous with self-care, our understanding of health has evolved beyond just physical activity. It is no longer just how much time do we spend in the gym, but it is also about what we eat. We have a stellar panel with us today to discuss about how what we eat has a profound impact on our body. So my first question for today is for Jyoti Arora. So Jyoti, how does Ayurveda define the role of nutrition in maintaining long-term fitness?
All right. First of all, thank you so much for having me here and inviting me again here. And yeah, so we are coming straight to the question. Yes. So, fitness. So we'll start with Ayurveda. It's an ancient science of personalized health medicine, right? So that is the thing which nowadays you're hearing a lot. Like this is a science which is talking about personalized health, depending upon the prakriti or the constitution and the three doshic theory. So let me brief you a little bit about this thing, then we'll go back to how it is actually helping for the long-term fitness for the people nowadays. For instance, I can tell you that there are basically three kind of prakritis, broadly if they categorize into ectomorphic, mesomorphic and endomorphic. So you have seen certain people who are having slender limbs, thin hairs, thin skin comparatively. So they are normally considered as Vat Prakriti people as per the Ayurveda. And there are people who are medium built but comparatively well built people who are having very thick hairs, lustrous hairs. So that is the indication which they tell them, okay, these are somebody who is having more of the Pitta Prakriti. And the third kind of people who are more stout, plump skin and long hairs. I'm just giving you a few examples so that you really can correlate with these things. So they are the people who are considered to be endomorphic or the Kapha Prakriti people. So that doesn't mean these people are having only Vat, Pitta and Kapha. What do you mean by Vat, Pitta and Kapha? Now in a simple, general, common man's language, if I'll tell you, Vat is something which is movement. That means whatever the reactions happening inside the body related to the movement, whether this is the circulatory system, cardiovascular system. So all these things, all the metabolic reactions are particularly a set of considered as Vat. And secondly, all the structure, all the tissues inside the body, which is normally considered as Kapha. Governed by the Kapha. And the third thing is which is Pitta, basically all the metabolism happening, whether the anabolism or the catabolic reactions happening inside the body, which is mainly belongs to the Pitta. So everybody is having these three doshas, and these doshas are in the different proportions inside our body. So I'm talking in a typical Ayurvedic language. So now I'm coming back to the modern science, how we correlate it nowadays for that.
Because there has been a great shift towards Ayurvedic way of living today.
So now, first of all, can you identify these kind of people around yourself? You can really identify these people. Doesn't matter how much you try, the people who are having very plump skin, it's very difficult for them to shed weight. And there are people who are very slender and they are having very irregular metabolism. They are having sometime indigestion or sometime the very good digestion. They're having variable appetite. And there are people who are having very good appetite and they are easily able to do endurance activities, easily able to do the good strenuous activities also. So they are the Pitta people. So that means the apparent evidence is there in front of us, first of all. Secondly, there are enough SNPs and epigenetic markers or metabolic markers already have been establishing that yes, there are, the categorization is there. But now this is established. But now what is the thing happening is that we still are actually solving the riddle here that how personalized nutrition can help and cater in a personalized way to these kind of prakritis, and that's not happening. Recently, even in the coming future, that's not happening soon in the modern sciences. So why don't we pick up the cues from the Ayurvedic sciences? So the Ayurvedic sciences is saying that there are 5 tastes which we are should take as per our prakritis, and that again is established that we are having the taste receptors not only in our tongue and in gut but all throughout our body. So that means whatever the taste based diet if you will be taking, that will automatically tune your metabolism to fulfill your requirements, what your body needs actually. It's as simple as that. Okay, so that is one thing. So that is a philosophy which it is differing from modern sciences, is saying about 6 nutrients and from 6 food groups, but the Ayurvedic sciences is saying 5 tastes from the 12 food groups to be taken. So if you'll do this thing, that automatically tunes your metabolism. And second thing, lastly I just want to rest this question, is that your digestion is very important, because digestion is something is variable. Some days you're having very good digestion, some days you're not having good digestion. So if you'll be able to tune that thing and you'll not avoid this thing for longer days, then you will be good to go. If you'll restore your digestion by doing the things like intermittent fasting is there, or some typical fasting, religious fastings are there, or taking light meals, or taking carminatives. There are carminatives which are already have been mentioned in Ayurveda to be taken, again Prakriti specific carminatives to be taken. So these things help to restore your digestion. And third thing is the rasa based diet is helpful to balance the doshas, because we are living in a world which is having a lot of environmental stress, right? And we even are exposed to different kind of foods also. So when you're taking different kinds of stress or different kind of food or occupational stress, so these doshas are bound to derange. So if you will tune this thing with right kind of rasa based diet, and also by tuning up your digestion, you can restore it before these symptoms will convert into a pathology. That is what is the Ayurveda is saying.
Yes. So there was actually, I feel that it is very important for us to understand that how Ayurvedic way of living can also help us sustain and thrive and also feel healthiest. My next question is for Dr. Sood. Like Jyoti said about food groups. So in current times, there is a lot of chatter about protein intake, protein supplements. So how do you think this whole conversation and topic has taken over the health market? And what is your point of view on it?
That's a beautiful question. The best thing which even Ayurveda emphasizes, besides their technical views of the doshas, is just eating right. In the right balance, and that is what Ayurveda also emphasizes. In fact, you will be surprised, and it's a compliment to only my health and Jagran Media to be doing a summit on POSHAN or nutrition, because if you see, about 50 to 55% diseases actually can be prevented by eating right, whether it is carbohydrates, fats. You don't have to be very finicky about कि ये कितना हो गया percentage wise, just a little moderation. Now, in fact, yesterday was a World Heart Day, and a very interesting thing for you is 90% of the heart attacks are preventable. And almost by eating right, 30 to 40%, agar nutrition is taken in a proper way, you can prevent the heart attacks, besides not smoking, physical activity, or taking enough sleep, and avoiding stress, in summary. But now coming back to your question on proteins. See, proteins have become a billion-dollar business all over the world. It is not in India, but it is in US. And there are huge companies, they are driving this business, and whether it is a drug companies, no company promotes nutrition. It is all for free. Or if they only promote is high protein diets. Now with youngsters and some of their role models, if you look at one of the biggest role models in the world, if I'm not wrong, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he had a heart attack few times. So he was a bodybuilder. So the question is, whether do we really require these proteins in the quantities which are promoted by these companies without any calculations? I have a lot of few dietitians with me and they'll agree with me. Sabse pehle, the best thing to understand is how much protein does a body require and whatever extra protein into the body, what it comes in, what happens to that protein. So body, as per ICMR guidelines, and the Western guidelines vary a bit, requires about 1 gram per kg of your body weight. And some of the guidelines mention about 0.85 gram of protein per kg of body weight. So if your body weight is 60 grams, you just required 60 kilograms, you just require about 60 grams of protein approximately, with a little bit here and there. And only extra protein is required during pregnancy, during lactation, during adolescence, during your growing years. So there is a little difference in the adult and the different age groups. Now the question is the youngsters, the teens. So there are two kinds. One who are growing, who are becoming taller, and the one who are doing for fitness. So the question is, even there has been a study, even with the Olympic athletes, do they really require so much of protein as many of these drug companies seem to sell with those big labels? So the question is, even for the Olympic athletes, there was a study that you just hardly require about 1.3 to 1.5 gram approximately, with a little bit here and there, of protein per kg of body weight, even when your body is in a high repair mode. So basically protein is required for repair of your muscles, the cells, and in case you are growing, for the growth of those areas. So in summary, you must understand what does protein do. Yeah. Please understand, extra protein, if not burnt by exercise and repair of muscles, not requiring that protein can even be stored as fat. Yeah. So that's a very important thing. So now the question is, extra protein, what we get, see, ultimately is all going to go out either way. It is going to put load on your kidneys. See, ultimately when the protein when the proteins are used, ammonia is produced, which converted to urea, and it has to go out through the kidneys. Yeah. So you're making your kidneys work harder, making them age faster, and it can affect on your liver. It can affect on, some people say, acne. Extra protein, many of the whey proteins which people consume, they create some of the intestinal disorders, bloating, headache, nausea. So they are not worth the money you spend. Please understand, these protein powders were not there when probably Dara Singh was a big wrestler. Yeah. They used to consume after exercise milk. And milk gives you both water and proteins, and a balanced protein. The best protein is egg by availability. Another thing very important to understand about proteins is, proteins have a group of amino acids, and some of them are essential amino acids. Now when you, if you remember, I think many of you will understand, the best diet recommended by many of our ancestors was a khichdi. Khichdi has both a pulse and a cereal, and you eat it with curd. That is how balanced. So the question is, if you, as far as non-veg protein is concerned, that is a more balanced protein which has all the amino acids. But in the Indian diet, if eaten in the right way, and little you calculate it, dietitians you can do it yourself. It is simple mathematics. Ki 100 grams of how much food I am eating, how much chapatis I am eating, how much dal I am eating, usme kitni protein I have taken, and approximately you can calculate. And if you do a normal diet, which all of us consume, then you are almost having sufficient protein in your diet. Agar aap reasonable 600, 750, 700 grams of, if you take milk, or if you take eggs, and you take about 500 ml of milk, so you will find, and you take your dals and pulses if you are a vegetarian, balanced food, you take your cereals and you take your pulses. Pulses are deficient in certain essential amino acids. Cereals are deficient in certain other essential amino acids. So if you are a vegetarian and you take a combination of cereals and pulses with some curd, all your amino acids are covered. So there are disadvantages of taking complete proteins from non-vegetarian diet. A little bit within a certain limits, it is all right. But the question is, extra protein doesn't take you anywhere. It wastes your money and puts load on your kidney. And you just and the simple example, our ancestors never had these protein powders, and I can assure you they were much healthier than us. They were doing enough physical activity and taking just the food what was available and working hard, and that solves a problem.
So I would like how Jyoti and Dr. Sood said that it's so important that what we eat should be correct, and what we eat also impacts our psychological mind, our thought process, our mental health. My next question is for Archana. It also happened in 2020 Olympics when Simone Biles, a gold medalist gymnast, actually withdrew from the Olympics owing to mental health conditions. So, Archana, how important it is for us to feel good about what we eat, to actually feel healthy from our mind, and what connection does it have with the food that we eat?
Thank you so much for having me here again. Yeah, so to understand the intersection between food and mind is something very, very important. Yeah. It's, this awareness has to be created. Yeah. I'm glad you asked this question. So I'll start with a very simple example. We have a luxury car, and it's suggested that we only use premium fuel in it. Yeah. Somehow we don't do that, and we use a normal fuel. The car will work fine for a while maybe, but slowly and gradually it might affect the machinery and the mileage and the efficiency of the car. Yeah. So similar is our body. Yeah. It needs good protein, good bacteria, yeah. But if we devoid it, we ignore the need of the body, it might affect us in longer runs. So this gut-brain connection, this gut-brain axis was earlier also discussed on stage. I will take it further. I'll explain it in a very simple language. What happens is, our nervous system has neurons, nerve cells. They have neurotransmitters, they release neurotransmitters. And these neurotransmitters are the chemical messengers, right? Which further give messages to the body. Now, these neurotransmitters like serotonin, 95% of serotonin is produced in gastrointestinal tract. So, and this gastrointestinal tract has a lining of neurons there. So, if we have good bacteria with good food that we feed to our body, it not only protects us from inflammation, not only helps us digest the food better or maybe extract the nutrients from the food better, it also activates the neural pathways that connect the brain and the gut. Yeah. So that's the most important connection that we all need to understand. Brain has not only the physical messages that it sends to the body, it also sends cognitive messages. Cognitive messages such as learning, which affect the learning, thinking, processing of information, concentration maybe. You have to understand that what we eat actually not only feeds our body, it feeds our mind as well. So it's so important to understand the value of nutrition in our diet.
Exactly. And there is also a very deep connection of our mental health with what we see on social media. My next question is directed towards Dr. Geetika. Geetika, please tell us, we see a lot of these celebrities following a very rigorous diet, a very rigorous fitness routine regime. So how do you think that celebrity diets impact public perception of nutrition and healthy eating?
Very good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for calling me here. And I think all of us, this is a must-awaited question. हम सब Instagram follow करते हैं, YouTube follow करते हैं और देखते हैं trends आ गए बहुत सारे, vegan trend, intermittent fasting का trend, keto trend, and we need to understand the pros and cons of these trends. Vegan trend was started by Virat Kohli. Okay, so we need to understand why was it started. Basically, he started having inflammation in his body. He was not able to perform well. So he thought of shifting from a hardcore non-vegetarian to a vegetarian diet, ताकि उनकी body alkaline हो पाए. अभी क्या होता है, when we take lot of stress, तो हमारी body acidic हो जाता है, हमारा gut inflame हो जाता है. Inflammation causes lot of acidity. So the vegan diet helped in that. So that is why this plant-based vegan diet was followed. Then if we talk about Malaika Arora, she launched this thing of intermittent fasting, in which you are eating for 8 hours and you are keeping yourself zipped up for 16 hours. Now we need to understand, हम 16 hours कुछ नहीं खा रहे हैं, and we have to fill up ourselves in those 8 hours. But actually, is it possible for every one of us sitting over here? How many of us have done intermittent fasting?
I think a lot of, yeah.
Okay. So is it actually possible for every one of us to do intermittent fasting? Not actually, but yes, अगर हम intermittent fasting करते हैं तो it has really helped to control your sugar spike up, it has helped to lose weight, lose inches, and it really helps to detox our body and helps our digestive tract to rest. So these trends are good. It's nice to follow the trends, but we have to understand that trends are set and they were made according to the body. Then the third very famous trend came of ghee coffee. Early morning, take water, put ghee, and you put coffee, blend, and you drink it. So now, this again went viral, like it got very good reviews. People have this problem of acidity. And acidity का antidote है ये. If you take ghee coffee, it gives you good strength and endurance. It is very good to increase the metabolism. It is good for your glowing skin and hair, because actually we are avoiding ghee और हमें ये myth है कि अगर हम घी लेंगे हमारा weight gain होगा. But at the same time, if you take ghee or good fat first thing in the morning, you're increasing your metabolism and you're giving kick to your body. So, but people who have this problem of heart attack and people who have high cholesterol and fatty liver, are they supposed to follow this diet? No. So whenever we follow any diet trend or we see anything on Instagram or any of these pages, we need to understand what is for us and we should do that.
So my next question, Divya, I would like to come to you for this. I said that social media is it plays a very major role in our everyday lives, especially those who are also into a normal life, who are into 9-to-5 jobs or who have a job where they have to sit the whole day. In such cases, what you see on Instagram nowadays is people just eating food, mukbangs and all of that. How do you think that this trend is actually taking the whole world towards a very different approach of eating, and how do you think this adversely impacts our overall thinking?
So first of all, good evening everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. It is always great to share the platform and get immersed in mindful conversations, so definitely. And it's a very interesting question, I'd say, because we have seen over internet, many days, so many reels are there talking about foods, snackification is there, but how we can cure that snackification is by binging on the right kind of snack. So the key here is to have small and frequent meals rather than going for large meals, because so is the pattern of an erratic 9-to-5 person's job only, that they end up eating nothing at all, or rather they will just grab a meal on the go and they won't chew food properly. Thereby again, because they won't chew their properly food, then again mindful eating is not there. So that is really important, that we are doing snackification by having small and frequent meals on the go, and that too going for the minimally processed foods. Minimally processed foods examples could be n number of foods, like Samira ma'am told. It could be roasted chana without any jaggery, or you could go for a handful of nuts, which will be giving us good fats as well. So that is the key here, that you are taking small and frequent meals in between, and definitely you should not be skipping breakfast at any cost, because we do see individuals who are skipping their breakfast and thereby they have to be again compromising on their metabolism. So the key here, definitely have a breakfast that is full of proteins, lean proteins. It could be a plant source, it could be an animal source, consisting of some lean fats, but definitely do not skip on your breakfast. And like Dr. Geetika mentioned also, that nowadays so many people are going into the pattern of intermittent fasting, which is absolutely okay, because different bodies have different types. Might be I'm able to metabolize fat better, but some individual might not be able to metabolize faster. So nowadays personalized nutrition, what I have seen, is the key only. So we need to identify that whether I am going through some chief complaint or not. It could be related to acidity, might be I am more prone to acidity, the other individual won't. So that is the key. And I'll just give you a clear example of it. Like two individuals are there of same height and same weight. Or let's just say the other individual of the same height might not be having the same weight. Because nowadays we are just focusing on numbers. I want to be 47 kgs because that girl is 47 kg, she's of my height only. So usually in our head, the key is all about the numbers. I want to be 50 kg because that was being promoted over internet. There is a famous song by Honey Singh as well, 47 weight Kurida. So that is a great example of that only. We are just so much stuck into numbers that we do not see, there could be weight loss and inch loss as well. So the key here, sustainability and consistency definitely with the minimally processed foods, but alongside we need to be making sure what kind of food we are putting in our diet. So definitely quality over quantity matters a lot here. Thank you.
So like this discussion that we were just having right now about what we should eat, what we should not eat, how much should we eat, what interval should be there. As per Ayurveda, Jyoti, please tell us, what specific Ayurvedic food practices would you recommend or you tell people about that this is healthy to follow and it should be or can be a way of life?
So you're talking about the food which will be helping, which I understood from you is helping to maintain the health and fitness, right?
Yes.
That is something which you want to ask.
Yeah.
So how you can maintain the fitness? By two ways, by physical activity, first of all, and by taking the right kind of food.
Yeah.
These two things are the only solutions for that, right? So first of all, we'll talk about again constitution. I'm coming back to that because obviously I'm somebody who would advocate Ayurveda, so I want to start with that. Everybody is unique, everybody is having their own constitution, so everybody is having their own natural inclinations also, right? Some people are having craving for sweet food, some people are having craving for sour or salty foods. Everybody. So if I'll tell somebody who is having inclination for sweet food to have the sour food, would they be able to enjoy that? No, they would not enjoy that, right? So that is the thing which normally we talk about, the cravings part. And when the cravings are bound to happen to us and we, if are avoiding that thing, that even is not helping us anyways, because we end up taking some or the other day the copious amount of food and we end up taking extra calories also. So I am not recommending you to curb your cravings at all. That is one thing which I want to tell you. Because cravings is something which is very much your natural inclination, because you are born with certain type of taste receptors in a higher density. Okay, so that means you bound to have that craving for particular taste for yourself. So only two cravings which are addictive as per the sciences have been established till date is sweet and umami taste. So when you're taking these things on and on, then definitely yes, you can have the addiction, but then what you really can do is you can control your appetite, and appetite can be controlled. This is not a myth, this is definitely is a doable thing, and you really can figure it out when you start having more amount of the food. When you know that thing, you really have to go for whatever fasting or intermittent fasting or regular timing of the food, and that ways you can control your appetite. Once your appetite is controlled, go on. If you're having craving, go on, have the food which you want to have, because end of the day, if you're not satisfied or happy with what you are eating, serotonin, as the other person was saying in my panel, is something which is originating and secreting in your gut. If you're not happy, you definitely, after certain days, you will end up taking the whole amount of food which you were craving for many days and you were resisting. So that is one thing which I want to say. And secondly, obviously, you would be having cravings, you would be taking foods of your choices, you're surrounded by the food, so obviously your doshas again are bound to imbalance. Okay. So then what you really have to do, then you have to take then you not have craving all the time. Then you have to again go for the healthy switch to your diet as per again your constitution, that whatever the taste is recommended as per the Ayurvedic philosophy, stick to that kind of taste for certain duration of time as soon as you feel healthy inside. I'm not saying divulge into your cravings regularly, but sometimes that happen. And not only that, sometimes the again, as I told earlier, environmental stress is there. We're going for parties, we're going for different kind of gatherings where we take a lot of food, and we really can't avoid that thing. Yeah. So again, one and only thing which we want to tell is balance your doshas with right amount of the rasas. But rasas are again sweet, salty, sour. So that I don't want to dwell into, just want to give you a little idea about it. Like Vata people should have more of sweet, sour and salty taste. Yeah. Sweet, sour and salty, because they are the slender people. They need more calories. They are thin usually. Until unless they don't end up taking more quantities of the food. That they, again the doshas imbalance is there. So they need more nourishing food first of all. Secondly, the people who are considered pitta, that means their metabolism is good. So they don't gain weight easily. But at the same time, metabolism byproduct is the heat, which is produced inside the body. So they are fire element anyway. So that's why they need more cooling properties also, and at the same time nourishing food also. So they also need sweet food. But apart from that, the food which is having cooling effect, the taste like bitter and astringent taste or something which is having cooling effect also, it regulates the metabolism, the tune up. Yeah. And now this is a riddle, I know about it, but you really can test it on yourself, because your body anyways is having very good intuitions, and you really can incline and you can test on yourself also, because as you see that thing, there is no single remedy, there is not a single solution which is given by any of us. Yeah. So why don't you try that thing? Yeah. And third thing, now coming back to the kapha people. The kapha people are something who are having comparatively good amount of tissues, particularly the fatty tissues. Yeah. So obviously, these are the people who are more efficient to derive energy from less amount of the food. Yeah. So obviously, they don't need high calories, and they have sweet cravings. So these are the people who are coming in the danger zone easily. Yeah. They're getting obese more easily. So yes, they should practice on and off the intermittent fasting for longer duration, like 16 and 8 wala, because these are the category of people who really can fast for longer duration. Yeah. They don't need too much energy. Yeah. That happen. And apart from that, the taste which they usually have is bitter, pungent and astringent taste. Yeah. That is it, which I just want to say.
So like Jyoti just said, that each body type, each body composition requires a specific diet, right? But in today's time, when we see that there are so many diets floating around in the market, intermittent fasting के बारे में जैसे हमने अभी बात की, there is a vegan diet, there is a DASH diet, there are so many diets. So Dr. Sood, how do you think that these diets that are there, that are easily available on the internet, how all of these diets are adversely impacting the public health, overall public health?
Studies do keep coming, things do keep changing. If you see, there was an era don't eat eggs, there was an era eat some eggs, there is an era eat only eggs a week. So the things keep changing always. Now the question is the diet fads. There was a time, I'll quote, in All India Institute there was a study done by Dean Ornish. He was a very famous guy, and it became a big fad in the US, and they did All India Institute of Medical Sciences Delhi. They said go with zero fat diet, although it never happens because there are some always invisible fats in your food, but they said go with zero oils and zero fat everything. Now that is totally out. Now we say you should have some amount of fats, because there are some essential fatty acids like essential amino acids which are required for the normal functioning of the body, whether the functioning of the brain or many of the hormones or other endocrine systems. So the question is, the best thing is to have a balanced diet, reasonably a mix of a balance of moderation of diet, not excess of fats, not excess of proteins, like proteins powders we discussed, and a reasonable amount of carbohydrates. Now they say you must have fat, you must go down on carbohydrates, which makes reasonable sense. And the reason is, if you're eating your proteins, which are balanced, the non-veg, they have their own disadvantages. If you're having your fats to give you essential fatty acids, you're having your proteins in the right amount and decrease of carbohydrates. If you look at the West, in India, we eat too much rice, too much chapati. And we do try to make it into a balanced food by mixing it with pulses and other things which make essential, which give us all the essential amino acids. But the carbohydrates are cheap. Proteins are expensive. So there was an era in India where more of carbohydrates was eaten. You must have heard people were eating roti with a mirch or maybe with some achar. Vegetables were not easily accessible. The biggest problem was food was difficult to get. You had to really work hard to get your food. And now you're sitting in an era where food is available on Swiggy or Zomato. You don't have to move from your chair or your room. So there is a switch. You're sitting in an AC room, you're not sweating. And you would sweat out by doing a lot of physical activity. So these food diets at times are, I won't say outright reject them. Science is always evolving. But the best what I've found is eat in moderation. Probably in India, the kind of climate we have, we were trying to do what the West or they do it in England. England, the climate is very cold. Like you need more food in the winters. But the kind of climate we have in India, probably we don't. That's another debate by itself, whether we really need 3 meals a day. And the concepts of Ayurveda, although I don't really understand the dosha issues, not been trained. I'm a nutrition expert myself. But their concept of having a good breakfast, having an early dinner, and eating in the right amount. But everything is available. Na? There is momos, there is Maggi, there is a huge variety of food. You have continental, you have Chinese, you have Italian, you have Western food. So the whole thing gets diluted and you want to do like Instagram, Facebook. You're trying to do too many things in too short a time, and then you're trying to eat or taste too many things in too short a time, and that is where the crux of the problem. So you'll end up eating more calories, you'll end up eating more fats. Like one of the things, another thing they said, what they said was going with zero fat. It is totally outdated now. It was a landmark study at that time. So these food diets are something like this. They'll keep coming, they'll keep going, but something eating in moderation and the basic principles of Ayurveda, although the doshas I don't understand, but simple balanced food in the right amounts solves your problem and doesn't make your meals very expensive, saves you a lot of money on those fancies. I know of people, they are following those health coaches on the internet. One of my own relatives, a very highly educated person, I can assure you from that among who got 100% in science in 10th class, he got an international coach. That coach told me you have to eat boiled chicken to build your body and you have to eat 35 grams of chicken. So he would measure that chicken on a machine, on his weighing machine, to have that 35 grams. And then what you're doing is building stress. You're not enjoying life, and stress produces heart disease. So directly or indirectly. So just eat what your ancestors taught you, eat it in a balanced way, eat it in a moderation way, exercise, don't smoke, sleep well, and these are the situations for good health, and I can assure you, you can prevent 90% of your heart attacks or heart diseases.
I just want to add here in this one thing about the thing which you have put it nicely, sir. Yes, as the breakfast should be the larger and the dinner should be the lighter. That is something which we were hearing from ages. But that have been established recently by the circadian rhythm molecule chain, which already is confirming this thing.
I'll add to your story now. Now what is happening? It is happening with me also. I am working throughout the day. I hardly have time to have a proper meal after sitting down. I'm rushing. My breakfast is being rushed, my lunch. I'm at times forced to skip because of my work, and most of us people in the corporate life. So you don't have time to eat nicely, and so your heaviest meal is late at night. And after which you don't do hardly any physical activity. Uske baad khub sara khana khaya, you watch some television, and you go off to sleep and don't do any physical. And that is the crux of the problem of the obesity all over the world. And now for this, they are marketing those drugs for weight loss drugs. It's another $1 billion industry like the protein powders. It's coming out in a big way. I won't mention the molecules. I think the doctors here, that is because they are going to be the biggest sponsors of all the conferences of doctors. So that is how medicine is moving. But the best thing is follow Ayurveda, follow, make it simple, and eat early, and it doesn't cost you much.
Yeah, but there is another point which I want to add there in this. Only food really can't help you to achieve the fitness. Yes, we are bound by our lifestyle. We really can't have enough time for breakfast, lunch or dinner depending upon our routines. But we should do the physical activity. There is no shortcut for that. No drugs, no supplements. But
no smoking.
No smoking. But why we can't do that thing? Why we can't stick? Everybody, I'm sure 99.9% people are some or the other time in their life do some or the other physical activity. But the problem is that they are not consistent. Why they are not consistent? Because they are not picking up the right physical activity as per their constitution.
Ma'am, I'll give you your answer. I'll make it very simple for you. Previously, I think I was talking, there were no buses, there were no taxis, there was no Uber, there were no scooters. Only thing you had was walking. And the markets were not near your house. You had to go to maybe another village, maybe 10 kilometers down the line.
So what is the solution now? We have to find a solution.
Is make life simple. I'm as a preventive medicine expert also, I'm telling you. Make your life simple. Do regular physical activity. I don't know how much of you know, how many of you know. Currently, sitting is being taken as equivalent to smoking. Many of the Western countries, in many of the international companies, including Amazon, Google, they are having those standing stations where you work standing, and you will see the difference in the body of two individuals. I'll give you an example of a conductor and a bus driver. A simple conductor is always moving around the bus, and the bus driver is always sitting. You will see a change in their body composition, the way they look. And so the ideal thing is exercise or walk 10,000 steps amounts to about 7 to 8 kilometers per. It's not an easy job. For a woman, it is going to take 1.5 hours of walking per day. And so it's an exercise. This is another big debate by itself. And somebody who has to lose weight should be doing about 20,000 steps. 15,000 to 2,000, which will amount to 12 to 14 kilometers a day, which is again 2-3 hours. But that is what we don't do. So try to do maximum of your work standing, move around. Don't just keep sitting. Even on a computer or a laptop, you can have standing stations. Work for half an hour, move around, take a small walk in your office only, and that solves a lot of problems. And that is what I do. And I think I'm slim enough, not so bad.
So as we are slightly running out of time, I have my next question directed to Archana and Dr. Geetika both. Like we touched base upon the topic that how stress impacts our eating habits, and we get into that habit of stress-induced eating. What is your take on that, and how detrimental can it be for our overall health?
As far as stress is related, I think we should do detox. This is called dopamine detox should be done. फर्स्ट थिंग इन द मॉर्निंग हाफ एन आवर फ़ोन छोड़ दीजिए, रात को सोने से आधा घंटा पहले फ़ोन छोड़ दीजिए. दिस इज़ कॉल्ड mobile detoxing, which is really important, because when we are on our phones, we are actually not giving our time to ourselves. We are losing the component of self-love. When you get up in the morning, do little workouts, do light, you can listen to music, you can do chanting. Meditation is really important. You can detox by drinking lukewarm water with lemon. आप कॉपर के वेसल में पानी पी सकते हैं. आप जिंजर, टर्मरिक, सिनेमन उसको डाल के उसका पानी पी सकते हैं. सिट इन मल आसन इन द मॉर्निंग. सुबह उठ के जब हम मल आसन में बैठते हैं, आई एम गेटिंग मैनी केसेस जिसके अंदर कॉन्स्टिपेशन बहुत ज़्यादा इंक्रीज़ हो रही है. डिटॉक्सिफिकेशन शुरू होती है ऑयल पुलिंग से. वो टेक्निक्स कर सकते हैं. सो दिस इज़ रियली इंपॉर्टेंट. अगर हम सुबह उठ के वी गिव 15-20 मिनट्स, हाफ एन आवर टू आवर सेल्स, एंड रात को सोने से पहले इफ़ वी रीड एंड वी लिसन टू गुड म्यूज़िक, when we do this, we are releasing good and happy hormone which is called dopamine. जब हम इसको increase करेंगे, we are leading a healthy and a happy life, which is really very important.
Now, I would like to add one more thing to what she just said. To relieve ourselves from stress, I think mindfulness is something very underrated these days. हालांकि awareness आ गई है, but people don't do that. Everybody, you know, always complains that we have time crunches because of busy schedules, and that's understandable. But there is a concept of taking micro breaks also. And now micro breaks may mean different thing to different people. For example, for a continuous 45 minutes or 50 minute session, I would take a break of 10 to 15 minutes. Because I need that, right? But not for everybody. Some people might work for 2 hours as a stretch, and then they would like a break of, say, 30 minutes. So everything is tailor-made. जैसे आपकी body की need है, जैसे आपकी mind की need है, उसके accordingly you should be taking breaks, not work in continuation. Also, taking out time to eat peacefully is so important. 10 मिनट की आपको डिसिप्लिन बनाना बहुत ज़रूरी हो जाता है, where you eat peacefully, not watching TV, just concentrating on food and having good feelings about food. That's so important to relieve yourself from stress, because if you'll continuously eat bhagte bhagte, it is going to stress you out again, and all that is good in the food will never be absorbed by your body. So these are the important things that we need to practice.
So adding on to, I'll just like to add one more point. Many a times we may confuse this hunger and cravings. You know, nobody wants to eat a cucumber and a celery stick when they are craving for something. So that is very important, like Archana mentioned, mindful eating. But we have to be aware that maybe just try drinking a glass of water, 1 or 2 glasses of water before you are craving for something. So in that way also, you may end up eating too much. Obviously that guilt trap, you know, it is a vicious cycle, it is going to be there. But just drink a glass of water or so, and then realize that actually whether at first place you need that food craving to munch upon or not.
Yeah,
so that is really important.
That whether you're hungry even or not, because
Absolutely.
Sometimes we're just feeding anxiety. Psychology says when you're eating, when you're not even hungry, you're feeding just your anxiety. So you need to ask yourself first whether you're actually hungry or not.
And we must add a piece of dark chocolate after our meals. It is a myth कि dark chocolate खा के मोटे होते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है. It should have more of cocoa and less of sugar in it. So after your meal, just take a piece of dark chocolate. It will really help to increase the dopamine. And just go for 42 minutes of physical activity per day. That can be walk, yoga, dancing, anything. 42 minutes every day. Studies have proven अगर आप 42 minutes अपने आप को 24 hours में देते हैं, आपका stress release होगा, आप happy होंगे, आपका gut happy होगा, good bacteria release होगा, and you will not have to take probiotics.